Skip Ozempic. Reverse your metabolism with this one food. The hidden metabolism trap. You know how people say your metabolism just slows down with age? Here's the sneaky truth. It's not your age doing it, it's your food. The fatigue, the stubborn belly fat, that afternoon brain fog. None of it is inevitable. It's the result of decades of tiny hits to your liver, your gut, and your energy-making systems from foods that look harmless but quietly break you down cell by cell. The good news? You can flip that process, not with injections or miracle shakes, but with one simple food change that reignites the same metabolic repair system your body's had all along. Now, Ozempic gets all the attention because it promises instant weight loss. It works by mimicking a hormone called GLP-1, tricking your brain into thinking you're full, so you eat less. But that doesn't mean your metabolism is fixed. It just means your appetite is muted. When you stop taking it, hunger roars back, and the lost weight often comes flooding with it. Nature already built a repair mechanism, far smarter than any drug. It's buried in the real foods that feed your mitochondria, heal your liver, and train your body to produce steady energy instead of short bursts followed by crashes. Think about it. Every metabolism problem people blame on aging, sluggish energy, creeping weight, agitation, poor sleep, even dementia comes back to one central system: how well your cells make ADP, the energy currency of life. When that system weakens, everything downstream follows. Your heart tires faster, your brain can't clear toxins as well, and your body stores fat instead of burning it. Yet modern diets, full of ultra-processed foods, added sugars, and artificial sweeteners, slowly choke that system by flooding it with signals it can't keep up with. Here's the tricky part. Most senior diets aren't bad by intention. They're convenient, soft, sweet, quick to chew, easy to digest. Instant oatmeal packets, flavored yogurts, sweetened drinks, energy bars. But those are precisely the foods that drain your liver's ADP engine. The liver ends up turning excess sugar into fat just to protect itself from overload. And once that happens, the entire metabolic network slips into low power mode. It looks like tiredness. It feels like depression. Doctors call it age-related decline, but it's actually metabolic miscommunication. Picture how that plays out day to day. You start the morning with toast and juice. Your body spikes insulin and dopamine together. You feel alert for a bit. Then mid-morning comes, energy plummets, and you reach for another quick fix. This cycle repeats until the liver's overwhelmed, the gut bacteria are confused, and the brain's left running on fumes. By the time people reach their 60s or 70s, many have been stuck in that loop for decades. But here's the breakthrough. It can be reversed, often within weeks. Because the same organs that were damaged by processed food are also the fastest to regenerate once you feed them properly. That's where the one swap comes in. It's incredibly simple but powerful. Exchange sugar-heavy processed foods for high-protein, high-fiber real foods. That single change stabilizes blood sugar, rebuilds liver energy, nourishes your gut, and lifts the fog that's been mistaken for aging. This isn't about restriction. It's about reactivation. You'll see how the foods you choose either poison or power your cells, and how turning that switch back toward repair revives your metabolism, your memory, and your mood. Because your metabolism isn't broken, it's waiting for you to stop feeding it confusion and start giving it real fuel. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to do that. Why Ozempic isn't a cure. Ozempic is everywhere right now. Celebrity weight loss stories, doctor endorsements, headlines calling it a miracle solution. But here's the problem. Ozempic isn't fixing the thing that caused weight gain in the first place. It's just putting the symptoms on mute for a while. The drug works by imitating a hormone your body already makes called GLP-1. Normally, GLP-1 tells your pancreas to release insulin after meals and signals your brain that you're full. Ozempic overstimulates that same signal, so you eat less and your stomach empties slower. It's clever chemistry, but it's not healing your metabolism. It's hijacking it. So yes, people lose weight at first because they're simply eating far fewer calories. But there's a catch. While the scale shows progress, the metabolism quietly slows down to match the lower food intake. Your body thinks it's entering a famine. That means fewer calories burned while resting, weaker muscles, and more fatigue. And once the shots stop, hunger hormones rebound hard. Appetite surges, and because metabolism has slowed, gaining the weight back happens almost overnight. It's the ultimate seesaw, one that leaves you metabolically weaker than before. Here's what many people don't realize. Ozempic doesn't build strength. It doesn't preserve lean tissue, and it doesn't repair energy production. It only reduces appetite. For older adults, that loss of appetite can be risky in multiple ways. Clinical data show Ozempic delays stomach emptying, causing common side effects like nausea, constipation, and dizziness, and that roughly half the weight lost is actually lean tissue, not fat. You can lose not just body fat, but valuable muscle and bone mass that you need to stay independent. Sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss, already threatens mobility and balance as we age, and rapid drug-induced weight loss speeds that decline. Every pound of muscle lost lowers resting metabolic rate and makes insulin resistance worse in the long run, not better. That's the metabolic trap. The drug appears to fix the symptom, weight, but it quietly worsens the system, energy metabolism. Underneath, think of metabolism as an orchestra. Ozempic just asks the brass section to quiet down. So the symphony sounds smoother, but meanwhile the strings are completely out of tune. Without proper nourishment and energy signaling, your mitochondria, the tiny power plants in each cell, start producing less ADP. That's the body's fundamental energy currency. Less ADP means slower repair, duller cognition, and that washed out fatigue that too many older adults accept as normal aging. You might think, but if I'm eating less, shouldn't my body burn stored fat efficiently? It would if the liver, muscles, and gut microbiome were in good shape. But when inflammation and insulin resistance are already in play, the body doesn't just burn fat cleanly. It also breaks down muscle and sends confused signals to store more visceral fat. That's belly fat that crowds the liver and pancreas, worsening blood sugar control. Ozempic doesn't stop that process. It temporarily distracts it. In fact, in some long-term trials, up to 2/3 of the weight lost came back within a year after stopping. Here's where it gets especially concerning for seniors. When calorie intake drops sharply, protein intake usually falls too. That's not just a hunger issue, it's a tissue issue. Muscles and organs don't get the amino acids they need for maintenance. The immune system weakens, balance declines, and the brain, which depends on steady amino acid supply for neurotransmitter production, starts to struggle. You might lose pounds, but also lose focus, mood stability, and resilience. When researchers looked closely at Ozempic's effects in older populations, they found new malnutrition risks and vitamin deficiencies emerging, especially in people already consuming low-protein diets. Now, let's talk about the psychology of it. Ozempic changes how food feels, but it doesn't change why we reach for it. Comfort eating, sugar cravings, habit-driven snacking. Those behaviors come from dopamine reward loops in the brain, not just hunger signals in the stomach. The drug numbs the appetite portion, but not the reward circuitry. That's why many people still crave the same ultra-processed comfort foods. They just crave smaller amounts until the drug wears off. Once it does, the old reward loop kicks back in full force. Unless the underlying food environment changes, the metabolism slides right back into reactivity mode. There's also a physiological adaptation taking place. The more you artificially manipulate GLP-1, the less responsive your natural system becomes. Your body gets used to the pharmacologic shortcut, and dials down its own production. So coming off the drug doesn't just bounce you back to baseline. It drops you below it for a while. Energy plummets, cravings intensify, and psychological reliance deepens. That's why some people feel worse off the medication than before they started. The body's natural rhythm was paused instead of retrained. Now, none of this means Ozempic is bad. For many people, it's a powerful medical tool used under professional supervision to break through dangerous obesity or uncontrolled diabetes. But it becomes a problem when it's seen as a standalone cure rather than a temporary bridge, without nutritional repair. Specifically, re-energizing the liver and gut, your metabolism can't sustain what the drug delivers. And once the injections stop, all that borrowed success evaporates. Older adults, especially, need a different approach, one that focuses on restoration rather than suppression. Because at 60 or 70, rapid weight loss without metabolic repair can cost more than it gives. You might fit into smaller pants, but if you're weaker, more tired, and less steady on your feet, that's not real progress. Real metabolic health is about energy stability, not just body size. It's about how strong your cells are, not how empty your stomach is. So instead of asking, how do I lose weight fast? A better question is, how do I teach my metabolism to work again? Quick shortcuts can't do that. You need to feed your biology, not fight it. When your liver, gut, and brain start communicating again through the right nutrients, protein, fiber, and real food signals, ADP production ramps up naturally. Hunger stabilizes. Mood lifts. You trust your body again. And that brings us to the bigger picture. If Ozempic isn't fixing metabolism, what's actually breaking it? What's behind the energy loss, the insulin confusion, and the creeping fatigue that push so many people toward quick fixes in the first place? The answer isn't in your genes or your willpower, it's in your grocery cart. Because the true metabolic disruptor isn't age or appetite. It's the constant stream of ultra-processed, sugar-laced foods that hijack the very organs meant to protect you. That's where the real story begins. The real culprit, ultra-processed and sugary foods. All right, so if Ozempic isn't fixing metabolism, what's actually breaking it? The answer hides in almost every packaged food aisle. Ultra-processed foods. It sounds like a buzzword, but it's the single best phrase to explain why our modern diet makes our metabolism weaker instead of faster. These foods aren't just unhealthy snacks. They're chemically tweaked, fiber-free, nutrient-empty products designed to hit the pleasure centers of your brain faster than real food can. They barely resemble the ingredients they came from. Think about most breakfast aisles: boxed cereals, pastries, instant oat packets, meal replacement shakes, fruit juices. The ingredient lists read like chemistry experiments. Refined flours, seed oils, emulsifiers, flavor enhancers, sweeteners, stabilizers. Every one of those additives confuses the system that manages energy and appetite. Your body expects a meal to contain nutrients and fiber, so digestion takes time. But ultra-processed foods rush through that process in minutes. Insulin spikes, blood sugar wobbles, and dopamine fires off like a slot machine. The short-term result feels like energy. The long-term effect is exhaustion. Here's the key misunderstanding. Calories aren't the real issue. Signals are. Your metabolism doesn't just count food. It interprets it. It reads texture, fiber content, amino acids, vitamins, and even microbial molecules from your gut. Ultra-processed foods send nonsense signals. They say, plenty of energy incoming, but deliver no micronutrients for the liver to run its ADP machinery. The brain, expecting steady fuel, gets a jitters, then crash pattern instead. Over time, that mismatched messaging makes your hunger hormones unreliable. You eat, but the body doesn't feel satisfied. You crave more even when calorically full. That cycle slowly shuts down metabolic efficiency. Now let's look at the worst offender in that mix, added sugar. And I'm not just talking about spoonfuls in coffee. I mean hidden sugars in condiments, flavored yogurts, pasta sauce, nutrition bars, and baked goods labeled low fat. Fructose and sucrose, the main forms of added sugar, do something glucose alone doesn't. They target the liver directly. Research shows that just 2 sugary drinks a day can double fat accumulation inside liver cells. That microscopic fat isn't harmless storage. It clogs the very mitochondria that produce ADP, the molecule responsible for cellular energy. Once liver ADP drops, the whole body slows down. You feel sluggish because biochemically you are. Let's make that practical. Say an older adult has orange juice and toast for breakfast, a sandwich and diet soda for lunch, and a frozen dinner in the evening. That sounds balanced enough, but it's actually a steady flow of refined sugar and artificial additives hitting the liver from morning to night. The glucose spikes raise insulin, the fructose converts to fat, and the artificial sweeteners disrupt gut bacteria that would normally help regulate blood sugar. Within weeks, the liver is storing fat instead of efficiently burning it. That's how energy decline actually begins. Not from age, but from repeated signals that scream store rather than burn. A 2025 review of sugar metabolism helps explain why. Fructose is metabolized almost exclusively in the liver, where it bypasses the usual regulatory checkpoints. It doesn't trigger satiety hormones, and it doesn't feed muscle cells directly. Instead, it gets converted into triglycerides and stored fat. Those lipids gum up mitochondria and reduce ADP output. That reduction triggers cravings because the brain senses low energy and mistakenly demands more sugar to fix it. It's a self-perpetuating loop. The more sugar you eat, the less energy you actually get from it. Even artificial sweeteners, those zero-sugar substitutions, come with their own trap. Human studies now show that sweeteners like saccharin, sucralose, and aspartame can alter gut microbiome composition, especially in seniors. Animal experiments confirm they reduce beneficial bacteria like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, both crucial for nutrient absorption and inflammation control. And get this, people who consumed high levels of artificial sweeteners in midlife experienced a 62% faster rate of cognitive decline decades later. The gut-brain connection is real. When the microbiome loses diversity, inflammatory molecules rise, insulin resistance worsens, and the brain ends up tired, foggy, and less responsive to energy cues. So, sugar overload wrecks the liver. Artificial sweeteners wreck the gut. And ultra-processed foods wreck both at once by combining high doses of each. The result? A body that thinks it's starving in the middle of abundance. Every cell is surrounded by fuel it can't properly use. That's why metabolic syndrome, fatty liver, high blood sugar, high triglycerides can appear even in people who don't overeat. It's not about quantity. It's about communication failure between food and metabolism. For older adults, that failure shows up in 3 classic signs: constant fatigue, stubborn belly fat, and creeping brain fog. The same trio that doctors often label normal aging. But those are just symptoms of an energy bottleneck. When liver cells fill with fat from excess fructose, they start producing less ADP. Fewer energy molecules means slower detoxification, weaker digestion, and reduced blood sugar control. Add microbiome imbalance from sweeteners and a diet low in fiber, and you've silenced 2 of your major metabolic repair systems at once, the liver and the gut. What's surprising is how fast things can change in the right direction. Studies show that when participants cut out sugar-sweetened beverages and replaced them with water, liver fat began dropping within weeks. Insulin sensitivity improved, daytime alertness returned. That's not theory, that's metabolic flexibility coming back online. See, the human body is designed with layers of redundancy. It wants to heal, It just needs the chemical noise to stop long enough for clarity to return. Here's another overlooked issue. Processed food and sugar pair dopamine spikes with insulin spikes. It's a double hit that makes the brain associate sweetness with reward and energy, even though the energy part is fake. Over time, your brain learns that pattern and starts chasing the sensation, not the nourishment. That's how habits like late-night snacking or daily desserts stick around long after actual hunger is gone. Breaking that association takes more than willpower. It takes rewiring the brain's reward system with foods that give steady satisfaction instead of the rush and crash sequence. So, why does this matter more with age? Because the older liver isn't as forgiving. It regenerates slower, clears fat slower, and produces less glutathione, one of its natural detox molecules. That means every sugary beverage, every processed snack, puts extra strain on an organ already working overtime. Combine that with lower digestive enzyme output and reduced microbiome diversity, and you've got the perfect storm for energy collapse. Fatigue isn't random, it's metabolic burnout. Now, nobody's saying you should never touch a treat again. The point is structural. When ultra-processed and sugary foods dominate, your metabolism spends its entire day in reaction mode. Spike, crash, crave, repeat. When real foods dominate, the pattern flattens into calm consistency. Energy steadies. Focus returns. Hunger behaves. Your body stops fighting itself and starts functioning like the efficient machine it was designed to be. So yes, Ozempic can temporarily quiet appetite, but ultra-processed foods are the real disruptors. They hijack brain chemistry, clog liver machinery, and deplete the gut's essential allies. Fixing metabolism means turning off those false signals. And that starts by going straight to the control room, the liver, because that's where every bit of this metabolic confusion began. Up next, we'll look at exactly how the liver turns food into energy and what happens when that process falls apart. That's where the real repair story begins. The liver, your forgotten metabolism engine. Most people think metabolism lives in their stomach or muscles, but the real power plant is hiding a little higher up, the liver. It's your body's biochemical headquarters, quietly converting everything you eat into usable fuel. Every bit of energy you feel, physical or mental, starts here. When it's working well, your liver keeps blood sugar stable, feeds your muscles, clears toxins, and cranks out ADP, the molecule your cells burn for power. When it's overloaded, energy production falters, fat accumulates, and that smooth internal engine sputters. What you feel next isn't normal aging. It's an energy shortage. Let's start with what the liver actually does. After a meal, it receives nutrients straight from the digestive tract. Think of it as a sorting facility or a car engine converting fuel into motion. Glucose goes one way to keep your blood sugar steady. Amino acids take another route to rebuild tissues. Fatty acids get packaged for later fuel. The liver decides what to burn, what to store, and what to detoxify. For that balancing act to succeed, it needs clean, predictable input like high-octane fuel. When that input gets messy, too much sugar, too little fiber, loads of processed fat, the system clogs like an engine filled with carbon deposits. Instead of packaging energy efficiently, it starts to stash it inside its own cells. That's when the trouble starts. The most damaging shift happens when too much sugar, particularly fructose, pours in at once. Unlike glucose, which can be burned throughout the body, fructose is processed almost entirely in the liver. In small amounts, that's fine. It's easily converted into glycogen, the quick response energy you use between meals. But excess fructose overwhelms that pathway. The liver starts turning the overflow into fat through a process called de novo lipogenesis. Those fat droplets build up in the liver's mitochondria, the tiny engines that make ADP, and choke them. Less ADP means slower detoxification, weaker metabolism, and more fatigue. It's like trying to power a city on half the electricity. When ADP production falls, every organ feels it. Your heart tires faster, your brain loses clarity, and even your immune defenses slow down. Over months and years, that low energy state creates a ripple effect, sometimes called metabolic inflexibility. The body stops switching efficiently between fuel sources. It gets locked in fat storage mode. Blood sugar drifts upward, insulin surges, inflammation spreads. Doctors label that pattern fatty liver or metabolic syndrome. But what it really represents is a cellular energy crisis. Each mitochondrion is producing fewer ADP molecules per meal, so the body compensates by asking for more food, more cravings, more sugar, and the spiral deepens. Now, layer aging on top of that. The older liver doesn't regenerate as freely as it once did. Its antioxidant levels drop, and its mitochondria divide more slowly. So damage that once healed overnight now lingers. Heavy sugar intake that a 30-year-old might shrug off can tip a 65-year-old into chronic fatigue. Researchers studying liver health in aging adults find that even slightly elevated sugar intake results in dramatically more fat accumulation than in younger subjects. And once that fat infiltrates the tissue, mitochondria work about 20% less efficiently. That's your daily energy gap. Here's the encouraging part. The liver also has the fastest turnaround when you feed it right. Cut down the sugar and ultra-processed foods, and within weeks, its fat content begins to fall. As the cells clear space, mitochondria breathe again, and ADP output rebounds. People often describe it as getting my spark back, not magic, just restored bioenergy. Clinical trials back this up. Participants who replaced sweetened drinks with water or simple protein-rich options reduced liver fat and improved insulin sensitivity in as little as 3 weeks. That's the body rebooting its power grid. Understanding that shift helps explain why older adults can suddenly feel younger just by altering breakfast. When you swap pancakes and syrup for eggs and berries, the liver's workload changes completely. Instead of coping with a glucose flood, it receives amino acids and antioxidants it can use for repair. Protein triggers glucagon, which tells the liver to release stored energy steadily. No spikes, no crashes. The result is consistent fuel flow and mental clarity that lasts most of the day. Meanwhile, the mitochondria get time off from emergency sugar processing and can focus on producing clean ADP from fat stores. That's what people actually mean when they talk about fat-burning metabolism. It starts here. Another crucial liver duty, rarely mentioned, is detoxification. Every time you're exposed to artificial additives, alcohol, or even medications, the liver uses energy to convert those compounds into safer forms. When ADP is low, that cleansing system slows and leftover toxins circulate. You might not feel it as poison, you feel it as foggy thinking, irritable mood, or just plain exhaustion after meals. Restoring liver energy through nutrient-dense foods gives detox enzymes the fuel they need, which is why many people notice clearer skin and steadier moods right alongside better lab results. So, what foods actually help the liver produce more ADP? The answer isn't exotic supplements. It's the basics that humans evolved to handle: lean proteins, legumes, high-fiber vegetables, and low-sugar fruits. Those provide a balanced mix of glucose for quick energy and amino acids for repair, wrapped in fiber that keeps absorption slow. Fiber also binds some of the bile acids that carry toxins out, lightening the detox load. Combine that with adequate hydration and moderate movement, like daily walking, and liver blood flow improves even more. Every small choice feeds into that larger repair process. Let's talk about fat for a second. Not all fat harms the liver. The problem isn't dietary fat itself. It's the combination of sugar plus fat hitting the bloodstream at once. That duo tells the liver, store everything But when fat comes with protein and fiber, like salmon with lentils, the message changes. Insulin stays stable, glucagon and growth hormone coordinate fuel use, and the liver has no reason to manufacture extra fat internally. Food structure matters more than calorie count. You might be wondering, can the damage really reverse after years? In most cases, yes. Even people with early fatty liver disease have seen measurable improvements just by eliminating sugary beverages and increasing daily protein. Ultrasound scans show fat clearance, and energy reports match the lab data. The caveat: the liver needs consistency. One clean week followed by 3 high-sugar weekends won't cut it. Its enzymes adjust steadily over days, not hours. But once that adjustment locks in, momentum builds fast. Here's the mental shift that helps. Think of your liver not as an organ that punishes you for your diet, but as one that's constantly begging for simpler instructions. Every time you eat something unprocessed, high in protein, or rich in fiber, it breathes a sigh of relief and tunes its metabolism back toward balance. Every time you reach for refined sugar or overprocessed snacks, it has to throw emergency switches just to keep blood chemistry safe. Over time, those emergencies pile up. And that ties back to why people mistake fatigue and brain aging for something unfixable. When your liver's ADP output drops, your brain feels starved even if your belly is full. By restoring that energy engine, you give your neurons the steady glucose supply they need, reducing mental sluggishness and even lowering dementia risk over time. The liver, gut, and brain talk constantly through biochemical messengers. Healing one lifts the others. So before chasing the next diet trend or injection, start by remembering who's running the show behind the scenes. Your liver is the unsung champion of metabolism, the gatekeeper of real energy. Treat it like the engine it is, feed it protein and fiber instead of sugar and sludge, and it'll repay you with vigor you thought belonged to your younger self. Because metabolism doesn't fade with age. It falters from neglect. Give the liver clarity, and the rest of your body follows. Gut health, the missing link between food and metabolism. Here's where everything connects: the gut. For decades, we thought metabolism was just about calories and hormones, but new research shows that the gut microbiome may be running the show. Those trillions of bacteria lining your intestines don't just digest food. They teach your body how to respond to it. They decide how much energy you extract, how your immune system behaves, even how your brain feels. When your gut ecology is balanced, nutrients flow, inflammation stays quiet, and metabolism stays flexible. But when it's disturbed through sugar overload, processed foods, or artificial sweeteners, the chain reaction hits your liver, brain, and energy system all at once. Let's keep this simple. Think of your gut as a community factory. Each type of bacteria has a job. Some break down fiber. Others produce vitamins and short-chain fatty acids that feed the cells lining your intestines. Those short-chain fatty acids, such as butyrate, signal to your liver to burn fat more efficiently and to your brain that you're satiated. So a diverse, well-fed microbiome keeps metabolism running smoothly. But give that factory the wrong materials, like refined sugar and synthetic sweeteners, and production grinds to chaos. Good bacteria die off, inflammatory ones multiply, and the gut wall weakens. That's how energy leak begins. Artificial sweeteners are a prime example. They're marketed as sugar-free, but your microbiome doesn't see 0 calories. It sees chemical strangers. Recent studies in older adults found that sweeteners like saccharin and sucralose reduce beneficial bacteria such as bifidobacterium and lactobacillus. Those 2 species are important because they help digest fiber and produce vitamins like folate and B12, key nutrients for brain function. When they shrink, harmful strains like Clostridium difficile or E. coli can seize the upper intestine, releasing toxins that trigger low-grade inflammation. that inflammation quietly drives insulin resistance, leaving you feeling drained after meals even if blood sugar looks normal on paper. It doesn't stop there. Animal studies show that microbiome disruption from artificial sweeteners can change how blood sugar rises after eating. In humans, the effect seems to vary. Some people tolerate these sweeteners, while others experience impaired glucose control after just 2 weeks of daily use. Seniors appear particularly sensitive, probably because their microbiome diversity is already reduced from medications, stress, and lower fiber intake. The result? A gut that communicates confusion to the liver and pancreas. The feedback loop misfires, and the whole system starts storing more fat and producing less energy. In short, metabolism goes from graceful coordination to static noise. Now let's look at the gut-brain-liver axis, the invisible highway running through you. Signals travel both ways. What the gut bacteria produce reaches the liver through the portal vein, and what the liver processes affects the brain through circulating metabolites. When the gut's healthy, this axis keeps hormones balanced and inflammation low. But once bacterial harmony breaks, the gut begins leaking inflammatory molecules that the liver must clean up. If the liver's already overloaded with sugar, it can't keep up, so toxins spill into circulation. Those irritants cross the blood-brain barrier, firing microglia, the brain's immune cells, and causing mental fog. Many people describe it as feeling off or tired after meals. That's not in your head, it's in your gut. The fix isn't complicated, but it's often the opposite of what diet marketing tells you. The gut doesn't need extreme cleanses or probiotics in capsules. It needs prebiotics, the fibers and natural compounds that feed beneficial bacteria. These come directly from plants: beans, oats, apples, onions, asparagus, flaxseed. When those fibers ferment in your colon, they release the short-chain fatty acids that calm inflammation and strengthen the gut barrier. That wall acts like a smart filter, letting nutrients through, keeping harmful fragments out. Think of dietary fiber as the insulation that keeps your body's internal wiring safe. The data on seniors is especially fascinating. One large national study linked higher fiber intake, around 25 to 30 grams per day, to markedly better cognitive performance. Tests measuring processing speed and memory showed a clear increase up to a threshold. Beyond that, benefits level off, so there's no pressure to overdo it. Another analysis found that older adults with chronic conditions such as hypertension or kidney disease still enjoyed protection from cognitive decline if their fiber intake was high. In other words, a healthy gut microbiome seems to buffer the brain from the stress of aging. Why does that matter for metabolism? Because brain health and appetite control are deeply intertwined. The gut produces about 90% of your body's serotonin, which affects mood and satiety. A strong microbiome means steadier serotonin levels, fewer hunger swings, and better sleep quality, all of which influence how efficiently you burn energy the next day. When that system's corrupted by processed food or artificial additives, cravings skyrocket and energy slumps. You might think you're lacking willpower, but it's really microbial miscommunication. Here's the amazing thing. Change can happen quickly. Within a few days of switching from refined carbohydrates to real plant fiber, researchers find a measurable rise in beneficial gut species and a decline in inflammatory markers. People often notice less bloating, fewer sugar cravings, and a calmer digestive rhythm. And because the gut and liver share the same blood supply, that improvement lifts liver function too. Fewer fat deposits, smoother glucose control, higher ADP output. Metabolism isn't fixed by eating less, it's repaired by feeding better. Let's bring this back to energy. When your microbiome ferments fiber, it creates those short-chain fatty acids that travel to the liver and mitochondria, signaling them to produce ADP more efficiently. That's the spark sustaining your muscles and mind between meals. If you cut fiber down to near zero, You lose that co-signal, and both gut and liver slide toward idle mode. That's why ultra-processed diets make people tired even when they meet calorie needs. They lack microbial fuel. So the gut isn't just about digestion, it's a metabolic command center. It decides how your food is translated into energy and even how your hormones behave. Artificial sweeteners, while tempting, trick that system into silence. Sugars inflame it, but protein and fiber rebuild it, especially for older adults whose microbiome diversity naturally declines. By choosing foods that bacteria recognize, real vegetables, legumes, nuts, seeds, and modest portions of clean protein, you restore the conversation between gut, liver, and brain that defines vibrant metabolism. When that communication line opens back up, the benefits unfold everywhere. The liver clears fat faster, blood sugar steadies, appetite normalizes, mood evens out, and sleep deepens. You stop chasing bursts of energy because you finally have endurance. That's what metabolic balance really feels like. Not excitement, but calm efficiency. And that sets up the next piece beautifully. If sugar and sweeteners break the gut, there's one pair of nutrients that rebuilds it better than anything else: protein and fiber. They feed the good microbes, nourish the liver, and supply the brain. Up next, we'll look at how protein becomes the body's lifeline, protecting muscles and memory while teaching your metabolism to run smoothly again. Protein, the brain's and body's lifeline. If fiber is your gut's favorite fuel, then protein is your body's repair crew. It's what keeps every cell, muscle, and neuron doing its job day after day. Without enough of it, metabolism slows no matter how healthy the diet looks. And here's something most people over 60 don't realize. Even when weight stays steady, protein intake often quietly drops year after year. Appetite changes, chewing becomes harder, digestion slows, and suddenly meals are mostly carbs and comfort foods. The result? Weakness disguised as getting older. Protein isn't just about building muscle. It's about keeping the brain sharp and the metabolism stable. Each gram you eat breaks down into amino acids that act like tiny messengers traveling through your blood. They tell the liver to balance energy use, help form hormones that regulate mood and appetite, and serve as raw material for neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. When that supply dips too low, everything from mental focus to immune function takes a hit. You might not notice right away, but over months the body grows frilier, blood sugar swings harder, and memory feels fuzzier. That's not a personality shift, it's biochemical deprivation. Research in older adults backs this up beautifully. Large cohort studies, like Harvard's 20-year analysis of 77,000 participants, found that replacing just 5% of calories from carbs with protein cut dementia risk by double digits. 11% for animal protein, 26% for plant protein. Those are enormous benefits from something as simple as a different breakfast. People who made that change weren't taking new medications or doing brain puzzles. They were eating eggs instead of bagels, lentils instead of white rice. The cognitive protection came straight from the plate. Here's why that happens biologically. Protein helps stabilize blood sugar after meals, which keeps insulin from spiking and crashing. Steady insulin means your brain gets a consistent flow of energy instead of the roller coaster that processed carbs create. Meanwhile, amino acids like tryptophan and tyrosine support the production of neurotransmitters behind motivation, calm, and memory. In seniors, that stability translates to fewer afternoon crashes, sharper thinking, and smoother mood regulation. You don't need stimulants. You need balanced amino acids fueling clean chemistry. Another piece of the puzzle is muscle preservation, one of the biggest predictors of autonomy in older adulthood. After 40, muscle tissue naturally starts to decline, losing about 1% per year. By 70, if nothing's done, that adds up to a major loss of strength, balance, and personal independence. Protein is the only nutrient that can stop that slide. When you feed your muscles adequately, usually at least 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight, they stay metabolically active and protective. That's critical because muscle is the body's biggest consumer of glucose. The more muscle you retain, the better your blood sugar control, cognitive stability, and the easier fat loss becomes. In essence, protein doesn't just build tissue. It keeps your body a high-efficiency furnace for the foods you eat and a safeguard against frailty. So, how much protein do older adults really need? Current evidence suggests more than the outdated 0.8 grams per kilogram. Seniors benefit from closer to 1 to 1.5 grams per kilogram a day, roughly 80 to 100 grams for most adults. Divide that into even portions throughout the day, 25 to 30 grams per meal. That's one palm-sized piece of chicken or fish, a cup of Greek yogurt with nuts, or a hearty bowl of beans with quinoa. Eating protein in balanced intervals keeps muscle rebuilding constant, not occasional. Now, not all proteins behave the same way. Animal proteins, like eggs, dairy, fish, and poultry, contain all essential amino acids in ideal ratios for human tissue. They're immediately available for repair and strong neurotransmitter support. Plant proteins, beans, lentils, soy, peas, nuts, come with extra phytonutrients and fiber that support gut and liver health. Research shows both types offer cognitive protection. What matters most is variety. In Western diets heavy on refined carbs, adding more plant protein gives the biggest improvement. In plant-dominant diets, a modest addition of animal protein, especially fish, covers missing amino acids. The real goal is balance, not purity. The worrisome older adults have, especially those with mild kidney issues, is whether high protein could be harmful. Studies clarify this nuance. Only advanced kidney disease requires restriction, and for early-stage chronic kidney conditions, moderate protein paired with hydration may actually improve function by reducing inflammation and stabilizing blood sugar. The key is quality. Choose whole food protein rather than high-sodium processed meats or excess supplements. Let's connect this back to energy metabolism. Every protein-rich meal triggers thermogenesis. Your body burns extra calories just to digest it. That might sound trivial, but that mild energy cost keeps metabolic rate higher for hours afterward. Compare a high-carb, low-protein breakfast with a balanced one. After pancakes, your insulin spikes and falls, leaving you drowsy. After an omelet with vegetables, you stay full, steady, and active. The difference is hormonal signals. Protein increases peptide YY, and GLP-1 naturally, the same pathway Ozempic manipulates, without shutting down normal metabolism. You feel satisfied because biology worked as designed. Protein also feeds the liver's recovery process. The amino acid methionine helps fuel detox pathways, while cysteine contributes to glutathione production, the antioxidant your liver uses to neutralize toxins. That's energy protection at the biochemical level. Pair that with branched-chain amino acids like leucine, which directly signal muscle growth. And what you get is systemic renewal, muscle strengthen, liver efficiency rises, and brain clarity returns. Consider how this plays out in daily life. A senior who starts the day with Greek yogurt and walnuts rather than cereal experiences less hunger before lunch and steadier focus through the morning. Another who adds a few extra ounces of chicken or lentils to dinner notices deeper sleep and fewer nighttime snacks. It's not coincidence. It's the natural rhythm of nutrient signaling finally restored. Every meal becomes a metabolic tune-up instead of a drain. One fascinating twist from recent research: amino acid supplementation, especially carnosine and anserine from chicken and fish, can enhance memory and reduce cognitive fatigue in healthy elderly adults. Scientists think these compounds protect brain cells from oxidative stress, the same stress caused by chronic high sugar. So protein meals may literally insulate your neurons against aging. That's not hype, it's chemistry. But getting enough isn't just about numbers. It's about consistency and pairing. Protein performs best alongside fiber. Fiber slows digestion, creating a steady release of amino acids and glucose that the liver can manage easily. Together, they make metabolism smooth and predictable, avoiding the spikes that drain energy. That's the secret behind feeling energized hours after eating instead of crashing halfway through the afternoon. In other words, protein builds, fiber stabilizes. So if low-protein, high-carb diets steal independence, high-protein, fiber-balanced diets restore it. They preserve strength for climbing stairs, keep hunger cues reliable, and protect memory from decline. For seniors aiming to stay active and alert well into their 70s and beyond, protein isn't optional, it's foundational. It teaches the body how to age with power instead of depletion. The next step is understanding why pairing matters so much. Because protein alone can't fully reset your energy system. The other half of the partnership, fiber, determines how efficiently that fuel burns. Get that balance right, and you turn meals into medicine for your metabolism. And that's exactly what we'll unpack next. How fiber quietly becomes the real anti-aging secret hiding in plain sight. Fiber, the real anti-aging secret. If protein is the body's builder, fiber is its quiet repair technician. The one that keeps systems clean, calm, and running in rhythm. Most people think of fiber as something that keeps you regular, but its true job goes far beyond digestion. Fiber stabilizes blood sugar, feeds your gut bacteria, lowers inflammation, and even sharpens cognition. When you get the right amount, your metabolism stops swinging from peaks to crashes and instead settles into steady, reliable energy. And for older adults, that steadiness can feel like turning back time. Let's start with the basics. Fiber comes in two main forms, soluble and insoluble. Soluble fiber dissolves in water and turns into a gel-like substance that slows how fast sugar and cholesterol enter your bloodstream. Insoluble fiber adds bulk to food, speeding waste through your digestive tract so toxins don't linger. Together, they create a perfect rhythm. Soluble fiber prevents sugar rushes. Insoluble fiber speeds cleanup, like giving your body both a fuel filter and an exhaust system. That combination is one reason traditional diets, think beans, fruits, vegetables, oats, help maintain energy all day without caffeine or snacks. Your blood sugar doesn't spike, so your brain doesn't crash. Now, here's what the research says. Large national studies have mapped out an almost mathematical relationship between fiber intake and brain performance in seniors. Processing speed, memory, and executive function all improve as fiber intake climbs, up to around 30 grams per day. Beyond that, benefits level off, meaning you don't need huge amounts, just consistency. People consuming less than 20 grams a day typically show slower cognitive responses and higher rates of insulin resistance. But reach the sweet spot, 22 to 34 grams, and mental sharpness rises noticeably. That's not placebo, it's chemistry aligning with biology. Why does fiber boost brain power? It comes down to fuel timing. When digestion slows slightly, glucose trickles into the bloodstream instead of flooding it. That steady flow gives neurons a constant energy line, preventing the dips that make attention wander. You know, that afternoon slump that feels like someone's dimmed the lights? That's your brain running out of fuel because breakfast burned too fast. A high-fiber meal is like adding a dimmer-proof switch. It keeps lights bright for hours. But the real magic happens in the gut. Fiber is the favorite meal of your beneficial microbes. When they ferment it, they produce short-chain fatty acids such as butyrate, acetate, and propionate. Those compounds calm inflammation and signal your liver to produce more ADP efficiently. In fact, studies show the presence of these fatty acids can increase mitochondrial performance by up to 15%. That means more energy from the same amount of food, and less storage as fat. So yes, Fiber indirectly helps you burn better, not by dieting, but by feeding your microscopic allies. Another key effect of fiber fermentation is communication. The molecules produced in your colon send messages through the vagus nerve right up to your brain, telling it that you're full, safe, and energized. That's naturally satisfying compared to the artificial reward you get from sugar. High-fiber diets raise hormones like GLP-1 and peptide YY, which control appetite and stabilize insulin. Exactly the same hormones drugs like Ozempic try to manipulate. But fiber does it through your own biology, without shutting down hunger cues or risking malnutrition. Let's make this practical. Suppose breakfast is an opportunity, not a trap. A bowl of sugary cereal might look harmless, but it spikes blood sugar sharply, then leaves you starving 90 minutes later. Replace that with oatmeal topped with berries and nuts, and you double your fiber intake while keeping digestion slow. The result? You stay satisfied until lunch, your liver avoids another sugar overload, and your microbiome gets fresh food. Lunch is another chance. Swap white bread sandwiches for whole grain wraps stuffed with beans or chicken and crunchy vegetables. Each swap adds 4 to 6 grams of fiber, inching you closer to the target without feeling restrictive. Even small evening tweaks matter. Adding lentils or leafy greens to dinner can bring another 5 grams of fiber without heavy calories. The difference shows up fast: better digestion, calmer sleep, and that feeling of energy left over for the next morning. Fiber doesn't act as a stimulant. It acts as a stabilizer. It stops your internal systems from overreacting to every meal, which means fewer highs, fewer lows, and zero dependence on constant snacks or caffeine fixes. But fiber isn't only about the gut and brain. It's also an indirect antidote to inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation ages you from the inside out. It stiffens arteries, damages mitochondria, and slows cellular repair. Fiber cuts that process short by, lowering systemic inflammation markers like C-reactive protein. It helps escort excess cholesterol and toxins out through bile, lightening the liver's load, so it can focus again on energy production. You see, every gram of fiber you eat gives the liver breathing room to make ADP instead of fighting chemical fires. Seniors who struggle with chronic conditions such as high blood pressure or mild kidney issues often find that more fiber brings double benefits: better blood sugar control and steadier cognition. In those with kidney disease, high fiber even reverses some of the extra cognitive risk, likely because of reduced toxin buildup and smoother immune responses. That's how powerful the gut-brain-liver network becomes once fiber reconnects it. Reaching healthy intake doesn't require sudden overhauls. Start by adding 1 high-fiber food at each meal. Breakfast, chia pudding or pear slices. Lunch, lentil soup or bean salad. Dinner, roasted veggies or barley pilaf. Snack, a handful of almonds or an apple. Each of those gives roughly 3 to 5 grams. Together, they easily push you into the cognitive sweet zone. Supplements can fill gaps, but whole foods bring phytonutrients and natural moisture that make digestion smoother. As researchers like to say, it's not just the fiber count, it's the matrix it arrives in. What about people who fear fiber will upset their stomach? The trick is patience and water. Gut bacteria need a few weeks to adjust to higher doses. Start low, build gradually, and hydrate. Once your microbiome adapts, bloating fades, and benefit surges. Think of those weeks as teaching your microbes a new language. They need time to learn, but once they do, conversation flows easily. Fiber's benefits ripple out to weight, too, because it fills the stomach and slows digestion. Total food intake tends to drop naturally without conscious restraint. Studies consistently show that higher fiber eaters weigh less and maintain weight loss longer, likely because their hormones and microbes stop signaling scarcity. And remember, every pound lost through metabolic improvement rather than calorie deprivation stays off permanently, since you're not fighting hunger to maintain it. One overlooked gift of fiber for older adults is hydration. Many high-fiber foods, vegetables, beans, fruits, carry water bound inside plant cells. That slow liberation of moisture keeps tissues supple and kidneys comfortable. In an aging body, water management is energy management. Staying hydrated keeps circulation and detox efficient. So fiber quietly multiplies its effects through multiple systems at once. When all of this comes together, you start noticing more than better digestion. You wake up sharper. You crave fewer sweets. Energy stretches across the entire day instead of sputtering out mid-afternoon. Blood tests improve without extreme diets. That's what a steady, fiber-fed metabolism feels like. It's boring in the best way possible. No drama, no roller coaster, just smooth endurance. And here's the takeaway. Aging doesn't automatically dull metabolism. Losing fiber does. When we switched from whole plants to packaged foods, we didn't just reduce nutrients. We cut communication lines between organs. Rebuild those lines with 20+ grams of fiber daily, and aging cells start acting young again. Fiber may not look glamorous, but it's the real anti-aging secret hiding in every market aisle. Combine it with solid protein, and you've got the most potent metabolic restoration toolkit ever discovered. Simple food working exactly as nature intended. The one food swap that changes everything. Here's where the puzzle pieces finally click together. After everything we've talked about, the liver, the gut, the brain, the role of sugar, protein, and fiber, it all boils down to one deceptively simple change. The one food swap isn't fancy, expensive, or complicated. It's trading sugar-heavy, ultra-processed foods for meals built around protein and fiber. That's it. One substitution that shifts every metabolic system you have from damage mode to repair mode. The moment you stop feeding sugar to your liver and start feeding strength to your muscles and microbes, your metabolism begins to wake up again. Let's put this into perspective. Every day, most people follow a rhythm that sabotages energy without realizing it. Morning starts with toast and juice. Fast carbs, fast crash. Lunch is a sandwich on white bread or a quick frozen meal. More processed starch, little protein, no fiber. Dinner might be pasta with a sugary sauce or takeout with hidden sweeteners. Each bite is sending the same signal. Store energy, shut down repair. Swap just one anchor of that pattern, say that breakfast, and the biochemical story changes dramatically. Replace toast and juice with Greek yogurt topped with berries and chia, and suddenly you're feeding your liver protein for recovery, your gut fiber for microbiome balance, and your brain a slow, steady fuel line. The reason this works so well is hormonal harmony. High protein, high fiber foods naturally raise GLP-1, the same hormone Ozempic mimics, but they do it gently, in sync with digestion. That means you feel satisfied sooner and longer without shutting down your body's signaling systems. Insulin stays stable, hunger hormones stay reasonable, and blood sugar glides instead of spikes. You're not suppressing appetite, you're satisfying it properly. And there's another hidden bonus. Every meal built this way nudges your mitochondria to make more ADP instead of storing fat. That's because amino acids and soluble fiber give the liver everything it needs to convert nutrients directly into energy instead of lipids. Consider the research behind this. In controlled studies, when participants replaced sugary drinks with protein fiber beverages, like blended yogurt, oats, or nut-based smoothies, liver fat dropped by nearly 30% within 6 weeks. Metabolic flexibility returned, meaning the body could burn fat or glucose efficiently again. People didn't feel deprived. They reported more stable mood and sharper focus. And that stability carries over into daily life. High protein, high fiber meals release dopamine gradually, giving you a calm satisfaction instead of the jittery reward sugar brings. That's why cravings fade. Naturally, you're not chasing a high anymore. But how exactly does this swap protect the liver? Think about it like redecorating a house that's been cluttered for years. Sugar creates metabolic clutter, fat buildup, and oxidative stress. protein and fiber come in as the cleanup crew. Protein provides the raw materials the liver uses to rebuild its enzymes and antioxidants. Fiber helps escort excess fat and toxins out via bile. Together they restore open space in the liver's energy factory. The result: more ADP per bite, less fatigue per day. That's how seniors who cut out sugary cereals and replace them with protein breakfasts often describe feeling years younger within a month. Let's walk through a few real swaps anyone can make. Morning orange juice. Try water with chia seeds or a squeeze of lemon. The tiny fiber seeds slow glucose absorption and hydrate you better. Sugary cereal? Go for Greek yogurt with nuts and berries. It hits that sweet, tangy note, but builds muscle instead of fat. Lunch sandwiches on white bread? Switch to whole grain or sprouted bread topped with turkey or hummus and vegetables. Afternoon snack bar loaded with syrups? Replace it with an apple and a handful of almonds. Each trade lowers fructose intake, raises fiber, boosts amino acids, and rewires appetite signals. The beauty is in how automatic the benefits become. After about a week, your taste buds recalibrate to natural sweetness. Strawberries start tasting like candy. Processed desserts feel cloying. That's your dopamine system healing. Meanwhile, your gut bacteria celebrate the new menu. They proliferate, produce short-chain fatty acids, and tell your brain to calm down on cravings. The whole body chemistry that once screamed, "more sugar," starts whispering, "we're good." Metabolism isn't something you fight anymore. It's something you cooperate with. Older adults notice the differences especially fast because their systems respond dramatically to signal changes. Digestive comfort improves first, less bloating, smoother elimination. Then energy steadiness creeps in. You stop crashing after lunch. Within a few weeks, blood work catches up, lower triglycerides, improved fasting glucose, even modest weight changes that reflect fat loss rather than muscle loss. But beyond numbers, there's a mental clarity that returns. High protein, high fiber meals stabilize neurotransmitters like acetylcholine and serotonin, which support memory and mood. So the same single swap that feeds your liver also protects your brain. And here's the surprising part. You don't have to transform every meal overnight. The magic lies in repetition. When one high-protein, high-fiber meal becomes your daily default, your biology adjusts upward. You digest future meals differently, more efficiently, with better insulin response. It's a training effect. The liver expects quality fuel. So even when you do have a treat, it processes it faster, reducing leftover fat buildup. That's the opposite of cheat day guilt. It's proof that consistent good choices build resilience. Now, let's look at why this synergy between protein and fiber outperforms any fad diet. Protein on its own can stabilize energy, but sometimes raises insulin slightly. Fiber alone can slow digestion, but doesn't provide amino acids for repair. Together, they create a self-regulating loop. Fiber moderates sugar absorption, protein drives repair, and both signal fullness through the gut-brain axis. This loop keeps you satisfied and metabolically active long after eating. It's like giving your body a thermostat instead of a light switch, small, steady adjustments instead of on-off extremes. One of the most empowering aspects of this change is psychological freedom. Instead of chasing restriction or calorie counting, you focus on inclusion, adding foods that serve you. The more real protein fiber meals you eat, the less room processed sugar has to sneak in. And because these foods are naturally nutrient-dense, they prevent deficiencies that often plague older adults. Vitamin B12 from fish or eggs, magnesium and folate from legumes, potassium from leafy greens. In contrast, drugs like Ozempic silence hunger at the cost of nutrition. While this approach restores authentic appetite and energy, the better nourished the body becomes, the fewer mixed hunger signals the brain sends, and the stronger memory, mood, and independence stay. Think of this as switching cellular music from frantic pop noise to a steady jazz rhythm. Energy flows, appetite harmonizes, cognition syncs. It feels ordinary, but that ordinariness is where vitality lives. People often expect transformation to feel dramatic, but the real win is stability. You wake up alert, eat once, feel satisfied for hours, and end the day calm instead of scattered. That's the sign your ADP production and hormonal messaging are back in sync. This one swap might sound too simple for such wide results, yet biology consistently rewards simplicity done persistently. Replace fake sweetness and refined starch with protein-fiber balance, and you're effectively performing a full cellular tune-up every day. Your liver burns cleaner, your microbiome communicates clearly, and your brain stops chasing empty rewards. Meals stop being sugar roller coasters and turn into energy investments. So next time you're about to reach for something labeled fat-free or sugar-free, pause and check the ingredient list. If it's full of sweeteners you can't pronounce, trade it for real food with texture, substance, and color. That's the true one-step formula for metabolic restoration. Real fuel for a real metabolism. Because the secret to reversing metabolic decline isn't punishment, it's consistency. You don't need perfection. You just need practice repeating that swap until it feels natural. When you do, your energy no longer fluctuates with your meals, it flows with your day. That's what living with a repaired metabolism feels like: steady, strong, and finally under your own control. How fast metabolism reversal can happen. Here's the part that surprises almost everyone. It doesn't take years to see change. When people hear the word metabolism, they imagine something slow to budge, like a stubborn thermostat. But the body's repair systems react fast once the interference stops. In fact, studies tracking sugar intake and liver fat show real improvements in just a few weeks. The same organs that were damaged by decades of processed food are also the fastest to regenerate when given nutrient-rich fuel. So the timeline for metabolism recovery might be shorter than you think. Let's start with the liver, since that's the command center of energy production. In clinical trials, participants who simply removed sugar-sweetened drinks and didn't change much else reduced liver fat within 4 to 6 weeks. Their insulin sensitivity improved, and they reported higher daytime energy. That's because liver ADP production was no longer buried under a mountain of fructose overload. Once that fat begins to clear, the mitochondria can crank out pure energy again, like flipping the breakers back on in a power plant. You might not see the change on a scale right away, but you'll feel it through steadier mornings and an end to those late-day energy crashes. And the effect doesn't stop at the liver. The gut microbiome starts shifting almost immediately when sugar intake drops and fiber intake rises. Within days, beneficial bacteria like Bifidobacterium and Lactobacillus rebound, producing short-chain fatty acids that send soothing signals to the liver and brain. That chemistry shift restores appetite control and calm within 1 to 2 weeks. Many older adults describe feeling lighter after meals long before any weight change. That feeling isn't imagination. It's reduced inflammation and better ADP flow from gut to cell. By weeks 3 and 4, something else happens. Cravings start losing their grip. Dopamine circuits that were constantly demanding sweet hits finally relax. Taste buds rediscover natural sweetness. So fruit satisfies again, and the thought of soda seems too syrupy. That's a sign brain chemistry is rebalancing with your new metabolic rhythm. All it took was a consistent food message. Less processed, more protein and fiber, and your neurochemistry caught up. It's amazing how much of what we call willpower is really just chemistry waiting for the right cue. Now, what about energy itself? ADP restoration doesn't require perfection. It requires repetition. Every time you choose a real, balanced meal, you're teaching your mitochondria that stable fuel is the new normal. Within the first month, density and efficiency can increase measurably. In other words, you're not just burning more efficiently, you're growing new engines. That's why small decisions compound. A few daily swaps, a protein breakfast, fiber at lunch, less sugar in drinks. Train every cell to expect better input. Give it that, and output follows. For seniors, that transformation often shows up as less afternoon fatigue, better digestion, and smoother sleep. The body stops treating each meal like an emergency. Blood sugar no longer spikes into insomnia or nighttime bathroom trips. You start awakening refreshed instead of half-drained. People often notice posture or movement improving too, because muscles finally get the steady amino acid stream they need to rebuild. That's metabolism repair being felt, not imagined. But here's the honest part. Results move in layers. The quick changes, the extra energy, calmer appetite, lighter stomach, arrive within weeks. Deeper changes, like lowered liver enzymes, reversed insulin resistance, or cognitive clarity, take a few months of steady input. Don't let that delay discourage you. It's actually good news. It means repair is happening in the correct sequence. First the chemistry, then the tissues. Quick fixes blur that line and leave you dependent. Real recovery moves in lasting stages. Another pattern researchers have noticed: the body rewards addition more than restriction. People who simply focused on adding protein and fiber, without obsessing over cutting sugar perfectly, saw better long-term gains. Why? Because you crowd out the problem instead of fighting it. Each protein-rich meal reduces hunger for hours, automatically displacing the sugary snacks that sabotage progress. Within 1 month, those substitutions become habit, and the old cravings lose purpose. It's not punishment, it's replacement. Let's talk numbers for a moment. Study participants replacing sugar-sweetened drinks with water saw about a 50% reduction in risk for fatty liver disease over time. Those eating 30 grams of fiber daily scored higher on cognitive tests and reported sharper focus. And people raising protein from low intake to moderate, around 80 grams per day, reported sustained satiety and weight stability. So the indicators you can track are simple: smoother energy line across the day, smaller sugar cravings, lighter meals to satisfaction, better sleep, and morning alertness. Those are early victories, signaling your metabolism has shifted from reactive to responsive. How fast that happens depends partly on consistency. If you clean up breakfast, but drive through dinner every night, progress stalls. But flip it. Eat balanced most days and allow occasional sweets, and the system stays stable. The body forgives slips, but rebels against chronic confusion. It only needs one clear majority signal. Real food wins most of the time. That's enough for enzyme activity in the liver to tilt toward fat burning rather than fat storing. You're creating momentum at the microscopic level that compounds just like interest in a savings account. And here's what fascinates researchers: the subjective sense of energy often returns before measurable lab improvements. People feel vibrant weeks before blood markers catch up. That's because mitochondria recover faster than fat disappears. So if you start feeling bright early on, don't second guess it. That's biology confirming you're on track. The harder part is maintaining focus once novelty fades. That's why the mindset of awareness beats strictness every time. Think of awareness like navigation. You don't scold yourself for every wrong turn. You just adjust course. Paying attention to how foods make you feel, bloated, drowsy, energized, teaches your brain to choose the right routes automatically. That's sustainable reversal. You're training instinct, not memorizing a menu. And for seniors, that awareness links directly to autonomy. Being able to read body cues accurately is one of the best indicators of long-term metabolic health. It's also important to remember the compounding effect of small choices across multiple systems. A well-fed liver improves digestion. Better digestion improves sleep. Better sleep controls appetite hormones. Controlled appetite protects brain focus, and the circle reinforces itself. By about the 8-week mark, these feedback loops synchronize. Meals provide energy. Energy improves movement. Movement enhances metabolism. That's the often overlooked chain of progress that keeps results sustainable. And yes, occasional setbacks will happen. A celebration meal, a stressful week. The difference after metabolic repair is resilience. When the baseline is strong, the body bounces back quickly. One high sugar day won't spiral into fatigue for weeks the way it used to. The repaired system self-corrects. Insulin stays calmer, microbiome diversity remains stable, and the liver clears the excess smoothly. That's how you know you've crossed from fragile balance into strong flexibility. What's comforting is that all of this unfolds naturally, not through extreme effort. The body has been rehearsing this recovery since the day you were born. It just needed the right conditions to perform. Give it consistent messages, less sugar, more protein and fiber, and the restoration clock starts immediately. Repair happens quietly while you live your life. So when people ask, how soon will I feel better? The answer is simple. Some within days, most within weeks, and nearly everyone within months, if you stay consistent. Because metabolism isn't a mystery to be solved, it's a relationship to rebuild. You stop trusting your body when it stopped giving reliable energy. Now, by feeding it clarity, you earn that trust back piece by piece. Up next, we'll unpack how to keep that progress steady by addressing the biggest obstacle most people face once improvements start showing, kicking the sugar habit for good, and rewiring those reward loops so the old cravings never take over again. Breaking sugar addiction for good. By now you've seen how sugar quietly hijacks energy and mood. But knowing that and actually breaking free of it are two very different things. Sugar addiction isn't about weak willpower. It's about brain chemistry that's been conditioned over decades. Every time you eat something sweet, your brain releases dopamine, the same reward chemical triggered by gambling or falling in love. The problem is that surge fades fast, leaving a letdown that feels like fatigue. You crave another hit to bring dopamine back up. Over time, the system dulls, meaning you need even more sugar for the same little buzz. That's tolerance, not appetite. Dr. Robert Lustig calls this the dopamine tolerance cycle. It's a loop where sugar stops being pleasure and becomes relief from withdrawal. The tricky part is that it hides inside everyday foods, a flavored yogurt here, a muffin there, a healthy snack bar mid-afternoon. Each small dose reactivates the same neural pathway. So when people say they can't imagine life without sweets, it's not drama, it's neurobiology. The brain has been trained to expect that rush several times a day. To quit cold turkey is like asking it to suddenly stop breathing pleasure chemicals. No wonder cutting sugar feels miserable at first. The goal isn't punishment, it's retraining. You have to give your brain new signals of satisfaction that don't involve pure sweetness. That's why adding protein and fiber is step one. When those nutrients enter the stomach, they trigger hormones like peptide YY and GLP-1 that tell the brain, we're full, we're safe. That natural calm reduces cravings before you even think about them. One high-protein breakfast can lower desire for sweets the rest of the day. Combine that with fiber that slows glucose absorption, and your blood sugar stays level instead of swinging wildly. Cravings feed on chaos. Stability starves them. Hydration plays a simple yet powerful role too. Many older adults mistake thirst for hunger because the thirst response dulls with age. The brain's craving center fires. You reach for a cookie, and the rush temporarily masks mild dehydration. Start every craving episode with water, just 8 ounces. Wait 5 minutes. Often the need passes. It's basic physiology. When cells rehydrate, they relax, and dopamine quiets down on its own. That one habit can cut daily sugar intake without a single rule or restriction. Another effective strategy is the protein-first rule. Before reaching for anything sweet, eat a few bites of protein, half an egg, a piece of cheese, a handful of nuts. That small act steadies blood sugar enough to blunt the spike that sugar would cause. You might still choose dessert, but now you'll want a small portion instead of a binge. Over days and weeks, that pre-fueling teaches your brain that sugar isn't essential for satisfaction. Appetite regulation slowly returns to normal range. Mindful chewing sounds soft, but it rewires behavior faster than any supplement. When you eat sweet foods quickly, dopamine spikes harder and drops faster. Slow chewing spreads flavor, lets your gut hormones catch up, and converts indulgence into enjoyment instead of compulsion. Count 10 slow chews on the first bite of dessert, just enough for the taste to register fully. You'll notice the pleasure lasts longer and the craving weakens halfway through. That's neuroplasticity in action, new signaling patterns replacing the old rush reflex. Still, cravings often hit hardest under stress or isolation. That's where the crowd-out method shines. Instead of forbidding your favorite treats, surround them with alternatives that satisfy different senses: texture, warmth, or spice. Crave sweetness after dinner? Try cinnamon tea or a square of 90% dark chocolate. Both trigger dopamine calmly without hijacking insulin. Miss Crunch? Choose carrots or roasted chickpeas. The goal is not to erase pleasure, but to diversify it. When the brain sees multiple ways to feel rewarded, dependence on sugar fades naturally. Rewiring also means changing the environment that triggers cravings. Keep sugary foods out of sight and fruit in plain view. The brain is lazy. It chooses the easiest option available. Studies show that visual proximity doubles the likelihood of consuming a snack within 5 minutes. So make the healthier options visible and the temptations inconvenient. The fewer decisions you ask of yourself, the stronger you feel. Let's address one sneaky sugar stand-in: artificial sweeteners. They trick taste buds, but not the brain. Even without calories, the sweet signal still fires dopamine pathways and keeps cravings alive. Over time, that mismatch between sweetness and actual energy confuses metabolism and can worsen appetite control. Seniors who switch from sugar to sucralose or aspartame often find cravings don't disappear, they just mutate into constant snacking. If you need sweetness during transition, use something minimally processed, like whole fruit or a small portion of tagatose, which current research shows doesn't accelerate cognitive decline or disrupt gut microbes the same way others do. During the first 2 weeks of change, expect withdrawal moments. Mood dips, headaches, fatigue. They're real signs of dopamine recalibration. The key is preparation. Have high-protein snacks ready, stay hydrated, and sleep well. Dopamine resets fastest when you're rested. Every night of solid sleep speeds receptor recovery, shrinking cravings faster than any willpower contest could. Remember, this is chemistry healing, not punishment. By week 3 or 4, the benefits become obvious. Taste sensitivity returns. Foods that once seemed bland now burst with natural flavor. Energy feels smoother across the day. That's your mitochondria running clean again, because liver ADP production is no longer throttled by sugar surges. At the same time, gut bacteria that had been suppressed by sweeteners begin producing short-chain fatty acids again, fueling calm focus instead of jittery hunger. It's a perfect example of biology rewarding persistence. Some people like to track progress with craving diaries. Each time the urge hits, note the situation: boredom, stress, fatigue. Habit. Patterns emerge quickly. Maybe it's the late afternoon lull or TV time after dinner. Once you see it, you can preempt it. Walk the dog, sip tea, call a friend. Awareness beats abrasion. You outsmart the trigger instead of fighting it. Within a month, the diary shows fewer entries, a visual reminder that dependence is fading. Here's an encouraging truth: taste buds renew about every 2 weeks. So the sweet threshold that felt irresistible today will literally change on a cellular level by next month. This makes freedom from sugar not just possible, but biological destiny. Given the chance, your body automatically drifts back toward balance. You just have to hold the line long enough for those taste cells to be replaced with untrained ones. When all of this starts clicking, something fascinating happens with energy perception. Instead of the roller coaster, peaks of excitement followed by crashes of exhaustion, you experience a gentle plateau through the day. The brain no longer demands excitement. It appreciates consistency. That's a sign the dopamine system has switched from addiction to satisfaction. You eat when hungry, stop when comfortable, and feel content without chasing highs. And yes, occasional treats still belong in real life. The difference is they no longer control you. With a stable liver, balanced gut, and retrained reward circuits, a slice of cake becomes celebration, not necessity. You taste it, enjoy it, move on with no rebound fatigue or guilt. That's not abstinence, that's freedom. So when you think about breaking sugar addiction, don't picture endless deprivation. Think of it as teaching your nervous system what true energy feels like. Once your cells remember that calm power, they'll never want to trade it for a cheap rush again. As sugar leaves, energy returns, and you can finally feel that change at the smallest level possible, right inside your cells, where life's spark begins anew. Protecting metabolism for life. Once the sugar cravings fade and energy steadies, the next question is, how do you keep it that way? Lasting metabolism repair isn't about repeating a diet. It's about creating resilience, the kind of internal strength that keeps your body stable even when life gets messy. True resilience means your mitochondria, liver, and gut can handle the occasional indulgence without collapse. It's how you stay strong, alert, and independent for the long haul. Let's break down how to build that metabolic armor. First, think of resilience as consistency under changing conditions. When you eat real food most of the time, your metabolism learns flexibility. It burns glucose when available and switches to fat when it isn't. That's metabolic freedom. Processed diets erase that adaptability because cells only know how to store, not shift. A resilient metabolism recovers quickly after a sweet dessert or missed meal because it has practiced switching fuels. The goal isn't to live perfectly, it's to train recovery. Every balanced meal, protein plus fiber, low sugar, real nutrient density, is basically metabolic rehearsal for life's surprises. The liver anchors this resilience. After months of nutrient repair, its enzymes become more efficient at clearing fat and maintaining ADP. Keep feeding it clean, predictable fuel, lean proteins, legumes, and vegetables, and occasional treats won't throw it off balance. Researchers have found that people who maintain steady protein intake, around 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight daily, retain muscle, better glucose control, and faster detox capacity as they age. That's protective metabolism in action, liver and muscle working as one continuous energy network. The gut microbiome adds another layer of armor. Once diversity returns through consistent fiber intake, it acts like a shock absorber for your system. A single rich meal or late-night snack no longer triggers chaos because beneficial bacteria buffer blood sugar swings and produce calming metabolites. Think of them as extra staff maintaining order while you enjoy life. To keep them on payroll, give them steady fiber and some fermented foods, yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, or even aged cheese. Those small servings refresh microbial strength daily without needing expensive supplements. Now let's talk inflammation, the slow corrosive process behind metabolic decline. Sugar and processed oils spark it. Antioxidant-rich produce and fiber quiet it. The more colorful your meals, the lower your inflammation load. Aim for several colors on each plate: greens for chlorophyll, reds and purples for anthocyanins, oranges for carotenoids. These compounds protect mitochondria from oxidative stress, letting them produce efficient energy longer. In other words, color equals longevity. A simple rule: if your plate looks beige, add something bright. Movement turns that fuel into functional strength. You don't need punishing workouts. Muscle activity itself triggers mitochondrial growth and insulin sensitivity. Even brisk walking for 20 minutes after meals can slash post-meal blood sugar spikes by up to 30%. Add light resistance training twice a week, and you signal your body to preserve muscle and bone density. For seniors, that's more than fitness. It's insurance against frailty. Remember, muscle is metabolic real estate. Every ounce maintained expands your energy budget. Another aspect of protecting metabolism for life is sleep rhythm. Poor sleep disrupts insulin signaling and increases sugar cravings even the next day. Rest isn't laziness. It's when your brain consolidates memory and your cells repair mitochondria. Keep bedtime consistent, reduce late caffeine, and let evenings cool down. The goal is deep, uninterrupted rest. That's when growth hormone and autophagy, the cleanup of cellular waste, do their best work. Skimping on sleep undoes daytime progress. Hydration might seem basic, but it's foundational. Liver enzymes, kidney filtration, and gut motility all depend on adequate water. Dehydration thickens blood, slows nutrient transport, and drains mental clarity. For most older adults, 8 cups daily, more in warm weather, is plenty. Flavor it naturally with lemon or cucumber if plain water feels dull. Keeping fluids steady means metabolism never has to run emergency ration mode. Now let's revisit the food list that keeps all these systems humming. Keep lean proteins such as eggs, fish, poultry, beans, lentils, complex carbs like oats, quinoa, and sweet potatoes, high-fiber fruits and vegetables including berries, leafy greens, apples, and broccoli, healthy fats from olive oil, nuts, and avocado. Drop or minimize sugary drinks, pastries, white bread, processed meats, and artificial sweeteners. Replace dessert habits with naturally sweet foods eaten whole, like fresh fruit or dark chocolate squares. Over time, your taste preference stays aligned with balance, not excess. One more pillar of lifelong protection is stress control. Chronic stress floods cortisol, which breaks down muscle and raises blood sugar. The body reads stress the same way it reads sugar overload, as an emergency. Simple breathing exercises, morning sunlight, or light stretching lower cortisol and restore calm to metabolism. You don't have to meditate for hours. Just pause long enough to remind your nervous system you're safe. Calmer brains make wiser food choices automatically. When all these habits converge, you create what scientists call metabolic resilience. It's the state where mitochondria are abundant, inflammation is low, the gut is balanced, and the liver filters efficiently. People living this way notice something subtle: more endurance in daily life. Climbing stairs feels effortless. Focus lasts longer, sleep deepens. Their weight stabilizes without tracking, and their lab results quietly improve. That's lifelong repair, not temporary success. Now, about maintenance. The body rewards routines that feel enjoyable, not forced. Find pleasure in your meals, flavor herbs richly, try new legumes, mix textures. When food satisfaction stays high, adherence becomes effortless. Occasional indulgences fit comfortably because your baseline is strong. Even moderate alcohol, when balanced with food and hydration, becomes metabolically tolerable rather than harmful. Confident moderation beats constant guilt every time. Ultimately, protecting metabolism for life means protecting independence. It's about ensuring your energy, memory, and mobility remain under your control, not at the mercy of medications or trends. Every balanced meal and daily walk reinforces that autonomy. And remember, The same nutrients rebuilding your liver and gut are fortifying your brain against age-related decline. That's longevity from the inside out. Science confirming what simple, real food has always promised. So as you integrate all this, protein for structure, fiber for stability, color for repair, movement for activation, picture your metabolism not as fragile but as trainable. Each day's choices are practice sessions keeping it tuned. Slip sometimes, adjust, move forward. That mindset turns resilience into habit, because the goal isn't just to live longer, it's to live vibrantly, to feel your energy spark effortlessly each morning, to trust your body again. Consistency is the secret, moderation the method, and real food the foundation. Feed that trio, and you'll keep the metabolic flame burning steady for the rest of your life. Your metabolism isn't broken, it's waiting for real food. Here's the truth that rarely gets said out loud. Your metabolism never actually broke. It just got buried under years of confusing messages, from sugary foods, artificial sweeteners, and quick-fix diets. The exhaustion, weight worries, and fuzzy thinking that feel like getting older are really signals of a body running on mismatched fuel. The incredible part is that age doesn't block recovery. The same biology that once handled stress, growth, and repair is still right there, waiting for clear instructions again. Think of all the steps we've covered. How sugar starves the liver of energy, how processed foods clog communication between organs, how sweeteners silence the microbiome, and how protein and fiber flip the switch back to power mode. Together, those lessons reveal one bright message: your body already knows how to heal. You just have to give it real input. Whole foods that provide amino acids to rebuild and fibers that steady every energy flow. That's the opposite of restriction. It's restoration. So if there's one takeaway to hold on to, it's this: metabolism doesn't fail with age, it responds to direction. When meals are built around protein and fiber instead of refined sugar, chemistry self-corrects. The liver clears fat, the gut feeds beneficial bacteria, and the brain brightens as inflammation cools. That tiny shift from sweet to steady, from fake to real, restores the natural rhythm that drugs like Ozempic try to imitate. Instead of renting energy through medication, you rebuild it through nourishment. Don't overthink perfection. A perfect diet doesn't keep you young. Consistent, nourishing patterns do. Eat real breakfasts that leave you satisfied, hydrate before hunger, and keep fiber on every plate. When you fill your grocery basket with color, texture, and protein you can pronounce, metabolism thanks you quietly every day with calm focus and steady drive. Little choices multiply powerfully over time. If you remember one image, let it be this: your metabolism is like a well-built engine that's simply been running on the wrong oil. Pour the right fuel back in, protein for structure, fiber for flow. And within weeks, the idle evens out. Suddenly, everything works smoother. Thought, movement, sleep, even joy. That's not new youth. That's your original design resurfacing. And once you feel that spark return, keep protecting it. Shop the perimeter of the grocery store where real food lives. Skip the aisles lined with additives and zero sugar promises. Cook more, simplify ingredients, trust your taste buds to recalibrate to nature's level of sweetness. These aren't small gestures. They're messages to every cell that life is meant to run clean again. You've come full circle, past the hype, past the shortcuts, back to the honest relationship between what you eat and how you feel. That's the reset modern nutrition forgot, but your body remembers perfectly. Real food isn't old-fashioned. It's precision medicine written in plain language. So don't chase quick fixes that mute symptoms. Nourish the system that built you. Because your metabolism isn't broken. It's patient. It's been waiting through years of confusion for you to feed it clarity again. Give it that, and it will repay you with strength that feels effortless, energy that stays honest, and a mind that stays clear. If you want more straightforward, science-backed ways to stay strong, sharp, and independent well into the years ahead, subscribe and keep learning with me. You'll discover how small, real choices, not injections, not fads, become the most reliable form of youth we'll ever have. A body that still trusts its own design.